Hi, I'm Angela Non.
I'm Ariana Kempis.
And this is BRB Crying.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to BRB Crying. I'm Ariana, also known as Arns.
And I'm Angela, also known as Nins. And we are here today because we cried about something.
Mm-hmm.
So now we have to talk your ear off about it.
We must.
Thanks for joining.
Thanks for joining. Happy Halloween.
Spooky season.
Oh, yeah. Did you practice your witch laugh?
Is that, that's not
Good. That's pretty good.
Okay.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
I paid a lot for these mics, so I don't want to like blow it out.
Oh,
You know what I mean?
So for the best. If any of you are listening, which you probably are, and not watching, we are in costume today because it's Halloween and, you know, we're getting a little spooky.
Oh, that's a costume that you're wearing? Whoa. So I was wearing a costume. I didn't know that you were like...
Okay. Anyway, let's talk about these costumes for a little bit.
Sure.
So do you want to walk us through your ensemble?
Yes. I am dressed like Medusa today.
Okay.
Thanks to Miss Jelena, who graciously lent me her headpiece.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wearing very vibrant green eyeshadow, which took me, I think, 40 minutes to figure out how to do today.
So
we're going to celebrate that.
Okay.
And
you look great.
Thank you very much. And that's pretty much what I got.
You're wearing a flowy Grecian blue-green
I am.
dress.
You know, I texted Arns today and I was like, because we had talked about just being like low-key about the Halloween costumes. And I texted her today because I was just going to wear the headband and I was literally going to throw on a black shirt, call it a day.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, Arns, are you going to wear like a full costume? And she's like, I'm going to wear the headband, but I'm just going to wear like a floral dress and a shawl. I was like, babe, that's a costume. Let me find something in my closet. So thankfully, I had a little something.
Yeah. You know, I just got to say, I do not half-ass Halloween. In my mind, this was low-key.
I
see what I'm saying?
No, she just wanted to win the best Halloween costume.
No. Let me bring everyone back to, what year was that? 2015 Halloween. I was a White Walker and Jomar was Jon Snow. And I spent a few hours on that makeup. And I was so proud. That was one of my best.
Yeah.
The trick-or-treaters came. I opened the door and they screamed. I was like, oh my God, wow. So, but today I'm not in White Walker costume. The time for Game of Thrones has passed. So today I'm dressed as Frida Kahlo. I got a little unibrow going, subtle. Some gold earrings, a little floral headpiece, and I don't know, a dress and a shawl.
Yeah.
Low key.
You look beautiful.
Thanks.
You look like a painting.
Funny thing, she was a painter. So yeah, if you have a chance, go to the link in bio, check out our YouTube, maybe have a little look-see at our costumes. We will also be posting reels, so if you follow us on socials.
Bombarding you with reels.
Bombarding.
On all of your socials.
Yeah.
So
TikTok, Instagram. So check us out.
Yeah.
Well, I have another announcement.
Hit me with it.
So if you follow us on socials, you may have seen we're doing a little collab with my sister's brand, Curated Cultura. So we are having some really good conversations about crying as a form of self-care. Crying is self-care. So follow us on socials and sign up for the newsletter so you can hear first. And that's all I got. Oh, I forgot to mention... bringing it back to the costumes.
Sure.
This is my great-grandmother's shawl. I think it's from the 1800s.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. And I totally did you hear it rip a little bit like 10 minutes ago?
No.
Yeah, so.
Really? I don't know that I have anything from the 1800s.
Yeah.
Wow.
My only thing.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
Spooky.
Yeah, it is very spooky. It's terrifying. That's all I fucking got.
That's all I fucking got. All right.
Should we get
into it? I'm first today, huh?
You are first.
Okay.
That's good, right?
Yeah, that was pretty good. That's pretty good.
Thanks. I've been practicing.
Okay. As we've mentioned, we got a little spooky episode today.
We do.
In honor of Halloween. Mm-hmm. So, you know what? Today, we're going to talk about dead bodies. Ooh. I'm going to do that all episode.
Spooky.
Okay. So, cry level for me, probably like around a 3.
Okay.
3, 4. And as we know, Halloween is a night that we dedicate to remembering the dead. And maybe it's human inclination to try to put the concept of death and mourning and grieving and anything beyond this physical world into this neat little box that we tuck away and only pull out once a year. And then we can even add all these like little capitalist touches and throw candy at it and market all these $70 costumes made of very cheap material. And then we can even open up the entertainment industry.
We can.
To shove a bunch of like gory horror films in our face and all this blood and scary supernatural hoopla.
Yes.
Right?
Hoopla. Love it.
And pretty soon, the entire idea of Halloween, of honoring the dead, kind of gets lost in the shuffle. And I feel like it's because the living are so afraid to look at death. And maybe we don't have to be. And I can throw every cliche at you to really drive this home. Death is a part of life. Death is the next great adventure. Or I could tell you about a story called The House of Mourning, performed by Kate Braestrup on the Moth. Okay, so sources for today, the Moth's official website, the story, which is basically a 13-minute podcast, and then Kate Braestrup's official website. So what's the Moth? Okay, I'm about to tell you. Gosh.
What's the Moth?
Okay, so the Moth is a nonprofit group whose mission is to promote the art and craft of storytelling and to honor and celebrate the diversity and commonality of the human experience, according to the website. It was founded in 1997 by a novelist, George Doss Green, and the concept is basically a live show where people are invited on stage to tell a story, with each show featuring like a very loose theme. So a theme like love hurts or hot mess, and then people will go on stage and tell a story. Sometimes the speaker can be a prominent figure, like a TV personality or a famous writer, but oftentimes it can just be everyday people. So veterans or teachers or parents or someone with an interesting job. And more often than not, the stories are them recounting a real experience that they had, real things that have happened to them. And the stories are told without the use of any notes. So there is just a speaker standing on stage, and it's just a mic and their voice. While I'm like clutching my iPad, right?
Me trying to do this without
Terrifying.
notes.
You know what I mean?
Whoa.
So the creator George Dosgreen decided to call this show The Moth because he wanted to recreate that feeling of those summer evenings in his hometown in Georgia where moths would be attracted to the patio lights on his porch where he and his friends would sit for hours and just tell stories back and forth. It's like a very intimate, just you're lost in the story. You're hanging on to every single word. And the first event was held in Green's living room in 1997. And now there are over 600 storytelling events a year in 30 different cities. And there's also a weekly podcast. So they'll pick 3 stories and they'll release them once a week. And that's how I came across the story that I'm going to share today. So Kate Braestrup told this story during a live show in 2017. And some background before we pause and listen to her story. Katie serves as a chaplain to the state of Maine's Forest and Wildlife Wardens. So what the hell does that mean?
Yeah.
Okay, so first, the Forest and Wildlife Wardens. Their whole job is to enforce fishing and wildlife law. But they also respond to a variety of outdoor calamities. So any sort of, snowmobile accidents or accidental drownings, they're the first responders that are called to the scene. And oftentimes, when any of these calls are suspected to involve a death, the wardens bring along Kate, the chaplain. And her role in this is to be the support and the voice of comfort for the affected families as they come to terms with the death of a loved one. So this story that Kate shares focuses on Nina, who is a 5-year-old girl processing the death of her 4-year-old cousin, Andy. I'm going to pause here and play the story for Arns. Please, if you'd like to follow along and listen before we jump into it, we will include the link in our show notes. So what'd you think? Okay. So just played it for Arns. And in the event that you haven't listened to it yet, I will summarize the story. So this story opens up with a conversation between Kate, our storyteller, and Nina's mom. Nina's mom is asking Kate for advice because, again, Nina, who is 5 years old, wants to see her 4-year-old cousin Andy, who just died that day. Kate then tells the audience about her role as a chaplain to the game wardens and how one of her responsibilities is to teach first responders how to support bereaved people. And during her trainings, she'll tell this personal story to her trainees about her first husband who died while on call as a state trooper. His car was hit by a truck, and given her familiarity with the local law enforcement, she asked for a favor and asked if she could be the one to dress her husband in the funeral home herself. And with some convincing, they make an exception and they let her do this. Clean up her husband's body and dress him for his final resting. And the people who authorized this were understandably on edge. And Kate describes this moment as one where she had to feign complete confidence. Because if she showed any sign of weakness or any sign of distress, they would be like, okay, that's it. We're not doing this anymore. So she says, they were all watching me as I walked into this cool room where Drew's body lay, and he was dead. But that's all. He was just dead. And he was okay. I was okay. And then she talks about how she had 20 minutes alone with him, their final moments alone together, where she cleaned him up and said goodbye. And after those 20 minutes, the staff comes in, her mom comes in, and then they all work together to finish dressing him and wrangle him into his Class A uniform for his funeral service. Kate says, "It was fine. It was better than fine. It was actually kind of great. I mean, it was beautiful and sad and funny, and it was okay. People are far, far more likely to regret not having seen the body than they are to wish they hadn't done it." So during her trainings, she actually teaches wardens to be very proactive about encouraging families to see the bodies of their loved ones, to make room and make space in that awful, chaotic day for families to have a final moment with the body. She says, "And let me tell you, the mourners are gorgeous. They're gorgeous. A mother will smooth the hair back from her drowned son's forehead, and the dad will hold his hand. A spouse will bring a flower and put it on his breast and murmur endearments. They're beautiful." But okay, Nina was 5, and her cousin, her best friend, Andy, was 4. So Kate goes back to the opening scene of her story, where she had just spent the day working with the wardens to clear up the site where Andy was hit by an all-terrain vehicle and instantly lost his life. And his body was now at the funeral parlor, and that's where Nina wanted to go to see him. So Nina's mother is asking for Kate's opinion. Should we let her go? Like, we just want to protect her. She's so young. And Kate says, you're her parents. You know her. You know her much better than I do. But I don't think it would hurt any more for her to see him. And she just left it at that. So 3 days later, Kate comes back to this small town to preside over Andy's service. And she runs into Nina's mom again. And Kate asks her, "Oh, so whatever ended up happening, did you bring Nina to the funeral parlor that day?" And Nina's mom tells her that, yeah, they did. They bring Nina to the funeral parlor, and Nina comes charging in, and right before they enter the room, Nina's parents are explaining to her, "Hey, Nina, Andy's, he's going to be asleep. He's not going to be able to talk to you. He's not going to be able to move." And she's like, "Yeah, I know. So Nina enters the room, and she walks right up to the dais where his body lays, and she puts her hands on him, and then she puts her head down on his chest and just talks to him. She sings him a song, and then she puts his Fisher-Price telescope in his hand and tells him it's for when he wants to see anyone from heaven. And then she puts her hand on him one last time and says, "I love you, Andy Dandy. Goodbye." So this story, sobbing, right? This story made me realize that we cradle children so carefully, and we try to protect them from all these things that we adults are so scared of. oh, they can't handle that. Oh, that's too much. Newsflash, babe, that's called projection. I also put, hello, risk-averse Asian households.
Oh, God.
We underestimate these kids because children can understand the finality of death. But more importantly, they can understand that that death does not have to change the way that they love them. Having to face a dead loved one is heartbreaking and sad and awful, but it could also be intimate and moving and, quote, actually kind of great, but never, ever scary. So, on this Halloween, as we remember the dead, let's also allow ourselves to fill up with love instead of fear. Because, according to Kate, you can trust a human being with grief. Just walk fearlessly into the House of Mourning, for grief is just love, squaring up to its oldest enemy. And after all these mortal human years, love is up to the challenge.
Beautiful, heartbreaking, but beautiful, both.
Yeah, but not scary.
Not scary. It is so learned, the fear that we project.
Yeah.
God, the way Nina just was so unafraid. I see that so much with kids. They're so bold in that way.
It's like their minds haven't been tarnished or swayed yet.
It makes me think of, there are certain cultures where a funeral service truly is a celebration of life, and it's like an entire village will get together and it'll be 3 days of like parties, and it's such a joyous occasion, and it totally is cultural. The way that we approach death is so
It's like we resist it. We fear it.
Yeah, totally.
And I was thinking about the fear. I mean, obviously, human inclination to want to live and not die.
Yes.
But I also feel like when you are the living person who's prompted the question, do you want to see this dead body? I feel like the pain of grieving is also so scary. It's like, no, I can't.
Yeah.
I can't let myself see this because it's going to be too much. It's going to be too heavy. I mean, I can't say that that was ever a scenario that I've personally experienced where, you know, there was this tragic accident and I had to see the body of a loved one. But I can also imagine myself feeling nervous and feeling this reservation.
100%.
You know?
Yeah.
But it's like those last moments are so poignant and so meaningful. I wouldn't want to let that opportunity pass.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. It's like, I want to hope that I would be brave, but just putting myself in that situation, in my mind, I can feel the resistance already. The fear, the finality of it all.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I love what she said about how humans can handle grief. We don't think we can, but we do. And I also love the piece about people regret not seeing the body more than they regret seeing the body. Like, what an insight to have.
Right. Yeah.
That's something that I'll hold on to forever.
Right. Yeah, because in the moment you're like, oh no, I can't fucking do that. And then you have all the rest of your life to be like, I should have, you know?
Not to cheapen this or relate it to animals, but that's totally how I was when Jinjin, our first dog, passed. And
I was thinking that too. I didn't want to bring it up.
It was exactly the same thing in that we didn't want to be there when he was euthanized because we felt like we couldn't handle it. And I think my entire family, to this day, we regret it so much.
Yeah.
like the fear he must have had and all of that. But it was like, it was so selfish on our parts.
So yeah, I mean, I think that she could have told a story about anyone, but the fact that it was through the eyes of this 5-year-old child who had that fearlessness to look at someone that she loved so much, her best friend, her family. It's like, God, children can teach us so much. There's so much that we can unlearn if we just revert back to that wonder and that purity.
Yeah. Yeah. I also feel like with children, the veil is so thin. And I wonder if being in Nina's shoes, it's like she still feels Andy there with her, you know, like maybe that finality that we associate with death is not as present with her. Maybe she still very much feels his presence.
Yeah. I know that was a more somber story, but I think it was very beautiful. And that's fucking it.
That's
beautiful.
fucking it. That's beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
Okay. Dig us out.
I will dig us out. This is going to be quite a hard pivot.
Okay.
We're going a little more traditional with the Halloween, as you mentioned.
Spooky.
Spooky. Yeah. Yeah, that. We're getting a little supernatural today.
Oh.
Yes. And to be fully transparent, crybabies, Nins knows what I'm going to talk about here today. And that is because a year ago, on Halloween night, I texted her about this very thing. And that thing is Casper.
Ooh.
So about a year ago, I watched the movie Casper for the first time since I was a child. And it was like a 7 or 8 sob. And as soon as the movie was over, I whipped out my phone and I texted you. I was like, have you watched Casper? And you were like, you were like, I don't really remember. And I was like, So let's get into the background. So Casper, the movie, was released in 1995. It was directed by Brad Silberling, and Steven Spielberg was one of the executive producers, which I didn't know that. I was 3, you know. But it's starring Bill Pullman as Dr. James Harvey, Christina Ricci as his daughter Kat.
Christina Ricci.
Christina fucking
Babe.
Ricci.
Jeez, okay.
2 years ago, she came out with an interview saying she was very ashamed of her performance in Casper.
Why?
Because she was a kid. She was like 13, but it's like,
Oh my
come
God.
on.
She was the it girl, dude.
She was. And Malachi Pearson as the voice of Casper. And so this 1995 movie was based on the 1945 Harvey Comics cartoon, but it had a slightly darker tone, which that was one of the criticisms when it came out. I thought that was a little weird. I didn't find it dark, but I guess in comparison to the comics, it was a little bit. But it's okay. We embrace it.
Babe, things change.
Things change.
They evolve.
They evolve. We get in touch with our emotions, you know? So, interesting aside, this film was hailed as having taken CGI to a new level. It came out the same year as Toy Story. So this is all per an article titled, "Sorry, Toy Story. This was actually the first movie with a fully CGI lead." So as we can tell from the article title, this was the first movie with a CGI lead. And according to the director, a single scene of Casper required more computer-generated imagery than the entirety of Jurassic Park.
Wow.
Yeah.
Someone on the Jurassic Park team is like, okay.
Well, fuck you. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Some scenes took a 1.5 years in post-production.
Really?
Can you imagine like recording a podcast and then editing it for a 1.5 years?
Oh my God.
And yeah, before I get into, you know, did you have something to say? You looked like you were on the verge of a joke.
No.
You were like,
Well, no, I just wanted to say that since I knew you were covering the story, I actually did my homework and I watched it recently.
did you?
So I feel like I was just thinking, I feel like I know what scene took a year.
What scene do you think it was?
I feel like it was the breakfast scene. Because it was like a 10-minute scene where it was just all of this chaos.
I think specifically when the uncles melt into the floor at the very end of that scene, I think that took a particularly long time.
Oh, yeah, I can imagine.
But yeah, there are going to be some spoilers.
For a movie that's 30 years.
Came out almost 30 years ago.
Okay.
So I don't know what the fuck you want from me. Like, whatever. So we'll get into the context.
Oh, that wasn't it?
No. I mean, we could stop there. That's fine. Just watch the movie and you'll see. But yeah, so if you haven't watched this ever or recently, I'll walk through this. So some unhinged woman named Kerrigan inherits a haunted house called Whipstaff Manor in a town called Friendship off the coast of Maine. Friendship.
Wait, mine was also in Maine. My story?
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. I feel like so many Halloween stories take place on the East Coast because the
New
leaves,
England. And
the leaves change color there.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And that's, I think, the only reason. It gets cold. Whatever. So she and her assistant, oh God, I didn't write his name down.
Oh,
Dibs. So weird. Okay. They suspect she and her assistant suspect there's a treasure buried there. But the ghosts keep driving away humans, so they're at a loss for what to do. Meanwhile, one of the ghosts, Casper, is frustrated because his painfully obnoxious uncles keep driving away these humans, and he just wants a friend. So Casper sees a news segment one evening, and it's a feature on a quote-unquote afterlife therapist named Dr. James Harvey. You watched this recently, so I know you're seeing it in your mind, but it's actually kind of funny. They're like, Dr. James Harvey and his loner daughter, Kat. I was like, what? That's outrageous.
It's like a shot of her like walking all goth behind a fence.
What? So weird. It was so funny. I don't know. I mean, I think that they meant for it to be funny, but like, I don't know. Yeah. That was an incredible scene. But Casper sees Kat on TV and he is smitten. He's like, oh, Kerrigan. And he travels via telephone wire. I do not know why it's via telephone wire. He can't just fly there, but I don't make the rules. But he travels to Kerrigan's hotel room, flips on that TV, swivels it towards her, and she sees, this is my answer. So she gives Dr. James Harvey a call. Meanwhile, Kat and her dad are driving across the country yet again because James has just accepted this new assignment. And Kat's frustrated. She's been to 9 schools in 2 years because her dad just keeps going around the country trying to help these ghosts pass onto the next life. And they are still reeling from the sudden death of her mom, Amelia. They've been traveling under the guise of James wanting to help ghosts transition, but really he's looking for the ghost of his wife because Kat tells him, you're not going to find mom. She's not a ghost. And he's very sure when he says, yes, she is. She has unfinished business.
Bill Pullman.
Bill fucking Pullman. So they arrive in Friendship, Maine, right on the cusp of Halloween. Spooky. Casper's super nervous about meeting this girl. He fucks it up that first night. His uncles like fuck it up even more. The next morning, he tries to make amends. He makes her breakfast. He's like being super impressive with his kitchen skills.
Mm-hmm.
Like he puts a stack of 20 pancakes in front of her. And I'm like, what the fuck? Do you ever see those scenes and you're like, who eats that many pancakes?
No, because then they'll take a bite and they're like, I have to go to school.
Yeah. She didn't even take a bite though.
Oh, she didn't?
No, not a fucking bite. God. Wow. Yeah. So yeah, that's when we're introduced to the uncles who are named Fatso, Stinky, and Stretch. Beautiful. Yeah, it was on their birth certificates.
That's not problematic.
No. So Kat starts to warm up to Casper because she sees that he really is a friendly ghost. And she is off to her first day of school. Again, not a bite of the pancake. And of course, the other kids are dicks because kids are dicks. And it's kind of weird because the popular girl keeps talking over the teacher and making these jokes. And the teacher is like laughing along and letting her. And I'm like, this is so weird.
I know. That's the one thing that I have with like American television. Like, it's so unrealistic how they portray bullies. I'm like, people don't do that at school.
No, they don't.
There's other ways that they're mean. That's not one of them.
And teachers make rules. And teachers teach in their classrooms. Yeah, the teacher is kind of standing in the back with his arms crossed. He's like, yeah. I was like, what? This is so weird. So what happens is they're having a Halloween dance, but they need a new place to host it. And the popular girl is like, well, we could do it at my place. Everyone, let's take a vote. And she stands up in front of the class. And I'm like, who the fuck is the teacher here? But they find out she's living in Whipstaff Manor, and they're like, dude, we gotta have it there because that place is haunted as hell. Spooky. Yes. So they all come to this agreement. Kat has not asked her dad. Meanwhile, James, trying to get the uncles to pass over and resolve their trauma, stop haunting the house, but they're fucking with him. And they see a framed photo of his wife, Amelia, that he pulls out of his box, puts it on his desk. And they realize that James so badly wants to see his wife again. So they pretend they can communicate with her. And they're like, yeah, she's waiting just on the other side of that door. And the light is glowing beneath the crack of the door. And he's so nervous. And he opens the door, fully expecting to see his deceased wife. And it's fucking fatso in drag. It's so fucked. I was like, that was really fucking traumatic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
The 90s, we just gloss over that stuff, you know?
Yeah. No. But anyway, so this brings me to my first cry scene, because there were three. But my first one that I want to talk about. So Casper finds out about the Halloween dance. I'm thinking about this timeline in my head. I'm like, this is day 2? This is happening so quickly. But he's jealous because one of Kat's classmates asks her to go to the dance with him. I mean, it's a prank, but whatever. I mean, Casper doesn't know that. He's just jealous because he wants to go to the dance with Kat. Mm-hmm. And he keeps trying to convince Kat that he's worthy. He's like, well, what does he have that I don't? And she says something kind of mean. She's like, a reflection. And it's like, oh. But anyway, so Casper says, well, I bet he can't do this. And he flies Kat to the top of the lighthouse. And they share this intimate moment where Casper admits that he doesn't remember anything about his family, anything about his life before becoming a ghost. And back at the house, after they come down from the lighthouse, Kat is lying on her bed and she's saying that she's worried that she's starting to forget what her mom was like, and she's worried that her own mom has forgotten her, just like how Casper has forgotten his family. So let me play the scene for you. So Kat worries that her mom has forgotten about her, just like how Casper has forgotten his family, and Casper says, no one would forget about you. And then Kat starts to fall asleep, and Casper asks, if I were alive, would you go to the Halloween dance with me? And she's like, mm-hmm. She falls asleep. And then he whispers, Kat, can I keep you? And when I watched this last year, I could not breathe. I was sobbing so hard at this part because that question is like such a childlike sentiment. And you know, when we're kids and we find something that we like, we ask our parents, like, please, can I keep it? Can I keep it? And she's this precious treasure that he just wants to hold on to forever. And when we were kids and we asked that, like if it's a pet or something, it's like we know our question is kind of outlandish and that the answer is probably going to be no. And so when he asks her, it's so tender and innocent. It's like this gentle whisper because he knows that her real answer is going to break his heart and he can't help but wish anyway. So yeah, I rewatched this a couple days ago and I was also sobbing again. So that's one of my cry scenes.
I think it's also because, I mean, it's kind of unclear what decade he was alive. Mm-hmm. But you can imagine that he had been alone for so mm-hmm. long. And it's like he finally found a friend. Mm-hmm. And like God, he just wanted to hold on to it.
Yeah. Fucking Casper. So anyway, it's daytime. Kat's looking for a costume because suddenly the Halloween dance is that night. Again, it's like day 3. But she finds a hidden toy room in the attic. And Casper, she calls him over and he suddenly remembers everything about his past. He knows that he got sick from staying out in the cold. His dad had bought him a sled for no reason other than he just wanted him to have the sled. And he was so excited about it, he stayed out late and he got pneumonia, is presumably what happened. And then that's how he passed. But he remembers that his dad invented a resurrection machine that brings ghosts back from the dead called Lazarus. Biblical studies.
Yeah, we had a little resurrection machine.
By the way, yeah. So I'm not going to get into it, but there's antics. There's lots of plot. Casper's about to get back in the machine. I'm skipping ahead like half an hour. Casper's about to get back in the machine, and then Kerrigan, the devil woman from the beginning, shows up with dibs. Her poor
Dibs! Get over here! Dibs!
So they sabotage Casper's attempts at resurrection. And then Kat's dad gets fucked up at a bar with the ghosts.
So random.
Yeah, he gets fucked up. And then they're like, let's make our trio a quartet. Quartet? Is that 4?
Yeah.
And then they try to kill, they mean to kill him. And then he says something sentimental. They're like, oh, never mind. We can't kill him. And then he walks outside and there's an open ditch right in front of the entrance to the bar and he dies. So he's also a ghost.
So random, but
Antics. And so in the climax of the film, Casper allows James to be resurrected instead, even though he wants nothing more than to be human, because he knows that Kat's dad is the only person she has left. And so all that's over. Antics done. Plot done. We're at the final scene. This is my second cry scene. Casper is super bummed. He's upstairs in the playroom by himself, and Kat's mom reappears as a spirit. And she decides that Casper has been so brave that she lets him become human until the clock strikes 10 p.m. so he can go to the dance even for a little. And the Halloween party's going on downstairs. Kat is also bummed and by herself in the corner, even though she's the host. She's still a loner because that's how it works, because kids are dicks. And suddenly, this handsome young man descends the steps and makes his way to Kat. And she's perplexed, but there's something familiar about him as he asks for her hand. And then they begin to slow dance. And she realizes it's Casper because he whispers in her ear, "Can I keep you?" James is, meanwhile, watching from the staircase. And his wife also appears to him as a spirit. And he's so confused about why she's not a ghost. And she says, "You and Kat loved me so well when I was alive that I have no unfinished business. Don't let me be yours." So we're going to watch that scene. All right. Can I have a tissue? Yeah. All right. So again, when I watched this last year and this year, could not stop crying. And I think it's because watching this movie as a kid, we think it's about a girl befriending a little ghost and her eccentric dad who's trying to help these other 3 crazy ghosts pass. And we loved it because it was cute and funny in this like really cheesy way, this very 90s way.
so 90s.
So fucking 90s. But it humanized spirits and it made the supernatural not seem so scary. I think that's why this is such a beloved movie. But as an adult, when you look past all the antics and the plot and the bravado, you realize that the characters are all navigating this deep, deep loneliness. You have a girl who just wants to feel like she belongs, who just wants a friend. She just wants a fucking friend. And you have a boy who just wants to dance with a girl. And he knows it won't be like this forever. And it's so tragic. But being a human, even for those precious moments, is enough for him. And then you have this man who is so afraid to be alone. He doesn't want to accept that the love of his life has moved on, because that would mean that she's moved on from him and their daughter, and she doesn't need them anymore the way that he so desperately still needs her. But then he realizes she's not moving on from him. She's moving on because of him. Because the love that they gave her, even for the short amount of time that she was alive, it was enough for her. So, yeah, I feel like this movie, yes, sure, it's about a friendly ghost. But I think more than that, it's this reminder that we all just want to be loved. And we all just want to be made to feel like we're not alone. That's all we want.
It's such a weird experience when you watch a movie as an adult that you totally watched as a kid, because you realize, like, God, I was so fucking dumb. I didn't understand this story.
Yeah.
And then you realize, like, oh my gosh, there is so much being told here.
Yeah. When I texted you last year about this, I was rereading it. I was telling you about how tragic it was at the very end, where it was so brief, the amount of time he could be human. It's like when I cry about it, it's about something different. You know, like this time around, it was, I was crying more about the dad. And it's like, until the dad accepted that his love was enough for the mom and that he was enough for Kat, he couldn't let go.
Yeah. When I rewatched it recently, that was the part that I was like, God, he just like, he couldn't let her go.
No.
I didn't realize when I was young, like, oh, that's why he was doing all of this.
Projecting.
Just for her. Yeah.
Yeah.
I miss Bill Pullman. What a guy.
What a guy.
Christina Ricci.
What a gal.
Devon Sawa. Should I just name the whole cast?
Yes, please. In order of appearance. Yes. Well, I think we did it.
No, we haven't done it yet.
We haven't?
Themes that we can pull from both stories.
Ooh, projection.
Projection. Childlike wonder.
Childlike wonder. Being unafraid of what's next. Being unafraid of...
I like that. I like that.
Yeah.
Love in there somewhere. Always there.
Oh, wait. I was looking back on our notes. I feel like every week it's about love.
What the fuck else do we talk about?
I don't know. I mean, like,
Love.
we're just human.
Yeah.
Can you blame us?
Yeah. We'll say that after every episode. Love somewhere.
Love somewhere. Love always. Love, actually.
Damn it. I wanted to say that.
Sorry.
Fuck. Dumb.
Okay, yeah, now we did it.
Yeah, now we did it. Now we really fucking did it.
Now we really fucking did it.
All right. Get us to that end.
So thanks for listening. Subscribe to our Substack. Rate us on Spotify, Apple, 5 stars only.
You guys, the ratings and the reviews really, really, really do help us.
Yes.
We are, as you know, a baby podcast here, and we really do want to just get the message about crying and the importance of crying and the community around crying a bit bigger. So please, please, please take the 5 seconds to give us those 5 stars, write us those sweet affirmations. Appreciate everyone that's already done it.
Yes.
Keep them coming.
Keep them coming. And follow us on socials, BRBcrying.podcast. If you have a sob story you want to share with us, sob story being a little personal story, something that made you cry, or if you have a cry suggestion, cry recommendation for us, email us hello@brbcryingpodcast.com or submit a form on our website at brbcryingpodcast.com.
I think that's fucking it.
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halls.
Spooky.
So spooky. I wonder how many times we said that today.
Let's count.
I might have to like cut out like 2 or 3.
No. Add them back.
Spooky, spooky, spooky. All right. Thanks, everyone. Thank you for listening. We're going to go fly away now.
Yes.
But we're going to come back.
We will.
Pretty sure.
Probably. 95% chance.
But until then,
BRB, crying.